Hey guys, Alex from LMU Academy here with another Le Mans Ultimate Fix Setup Lap Guide, this time in the Alpine A424 at LUSAIL. As always, we'll cover the setup first, then cover each corner in slow time, followed by the pit entry, and then finally put the lap together for you in real time. So first, let's take a look at the setup, and remember that we're using the default setup for the car with some slight changes to the electronics and brakes, which means you can still use this setup and achieve this lap time in any race that forces the fixed setup to be used. Now we set a lap time of 1:40.7 using quali fuel with the medium tyre compound. Taking a look at the traction settings, we're using an overall TC value of 7, TC cut 6, and TC slip 9. Onto the brakes, and we're using a brake bias of 56.0 on the front and 44.0 on the rear. We're using a brake migration of 2.5% to the front, as well as a max pedal force of 97%. Then finally onto the anti-roll bars, and we've got the front set to P1 and the rear set to P2. Now that's covered, let's take a look at each corner in slow time. So for turn 1, we can place our left side tyres completely over the curb, but making sure to keep our right side tyres within the white line, and our braking point is just as we reach the green Rolex board next to the 100-meter board on the left. We go hard on the brakes down to second gear, and as we reach the apex, we place our right side tyres over the red and white curb, but avoid the orange section past that. Now our throttle point is as this stand reaches the middle of the cockpit, and we apply the throttle smoothly while slowly straightening up the wheel. Then as we exit the corner, we allow the car to drift over to the exit curb on the left. Once we reach the curb, we immediately start moving the car over to the right, aiming for the red and white curb straight ahead. Now our braking point is just as we reach the start of the red and white curb. We go on the brakes about 60% down to second gear, and as we reach the apex, we place our left side tyres onto the red and white curb. Now, a trick here as we apply the throttle is to continue to turn into the left and move the left side tyres onto the orange section. This will allow us to open up the corner more, which allows us to get back on the throttle earlier without having to worry about the car understeering into the gravel patch on the exit. Then as we reach the exit curb, we move over to the left slightly to open up the next corner, and as we turn in, we can cut over the curb and place the right side tyres onto the orange section, which allows us to keep a tighter line and get the wheel straight sooner. Then as we exit, we place the car completely over the red and white curb, making sure we keep our right side tyres within the white line. Our next braking point is just between these two DHL signs on the left. We go hard on the brakes down to third gear, and as we reach the apex, we place our right side tyres onto the red and white curb, but avoid the orange section. We then go back smoothly on the throttle and straighten out the wheel, aiming the car towards the curb on the left. Now our turning point for the next corner is as the dirt patch on the left here ends. We lift off the throttle and downshift to third gear, and then allow the car to coast over to the next apex, applying a small amount of brake if we feel that the car is understeering. Then as we reach the apex, we go back on the throttle smoothly, and we place our left side tyres onto the red and white curb. Once we reach the curb, we start moving the car over to the next curb on the right to prepare for the next braking point, which is just as this blue section of tarmac begins. We go hard on the brakes down to first gear, but we need to trail off the brakes early to avoid locking up. Then as we reach the apex, we can place our left side tyres onto the red and white curb. Now we can see there's a very harsh bump on the apex curb here, which unsettles the car, and we need to wait for the car to pass that bump before applying the throttle fully. Then as we apply the throttle smoothly, we straighten up the wheel, and we need to get the car over to the left side of the track as soon as possible to prepare for the next corner. Now we place our left side tyres completely over the red and white curb, and our braking point is just before the red and white Bosch board on the left. We go hard on the brakes initially down to second gear, but it's important to trail off early to carry more speed into the corner, and you can see that as we reach the apex, we're still traveling at 125 kph. Now a trick to open up our exit more is to place the right side tyres onto the blue section of tarmac, and our throttle point is just as this metal light pole reaches the middle of our cockpit. We go back on the throttle smoothly and keep the wheel turned to the right. Then as this white building reaches the left side of the cockpit, we straighten the wheel and let the car drift outwards towards the next curb on our left. Then as we reach the curb, we place our car completely over the red and white curb, making sure we keep the right side tyres within the white line. Now we follow the shape of the curb, and our next braking point is hard to identify here, but using the orange crane as it reaches the left side of our cockpit can be consistent. We go on the brakes lightly about 30% and turn in hard for the next apex. Then as we reach the apex, we place our right side tyres onto the red and white curb, but avoid touching the blue section past that as it can unsettle the car. We then go back on the throttle but keep the wheel turned to the right, and then aim the car towards the grey off-road on the right. Our braking point is just as our car reaches the middle of the track, and we go hard on the brakes about 80% down to 3rd gear, but trail off early to carry as much speed as possible into the next corner. We then follow the white line ahead of us, and then as we reach the blue section of tarmac, we downshift to 2nd gear and turn in for the next apex, keeping our brakes at about 30%. As we reach the apex, we can place our left side tyres just onto the edge of the red and white curb, and our throttle point is as the middle light pole reaches the middle of our cockpit. We go on the throttle smoothly and aim the car towards the red and white curb on the right, but we need to move off this curb as soon as possible because it's slippery and can cause the car's wheels to spin. We then move over to the curb on the left and follow its curve. Now we can place the car completely over the red and white curb, making sure we keep our right side tyres on the white line, and our next braking point is just as we reach the red motor board on the left. We go on the brakes about 30%, and as we reach the apex, we can place our right side tyres onto the red and white curb. Now it's important to listen to the car for this next set of corners, and if we feel that the car is understeering at any point, then we need to lift off the throttle slightly to allow it to rotate enough. We go back on the throttle and place the left side tyres onto the red and white curb. Then as we reach the end of this dirt patch, we lift off the throttle and turn into the next apex, placing our right side tyres onto the red and white curb. We go back on the throttle again and place the left side tyres onto the exit curb. Then as we reach the end of the dirt patch, we tap the brakes about 40% down to 4th gear and turn in for the next apex, placing our right side tyres onto the apex curb. We then go back on the throttle, and as we reach the exit curb, we immediately move the car over to the right to prepare for the next corner, placing the car completely over the curb and keeping the left side tyres on the white line. Now our next braking point is just as we reach the blue Michelin board on the right. We go hard on the brakes down to 4th gear for a moment, but then trail off early to carry enough speed into the corner, placing our left side tyres onto the orange section of tarmac for keeping the right side tyres on the white line. Then as we exit, we can use all of the red and white curb but avoid the sand trap next to it. Now our final braking point is just in between the two Michelin boards on the left. We go hard on the brakes down to 2nd gear, and as we reach the apex, we place the right side tyres onto the red and white curb. However, placing them onto the red coloured tarmac is fine as well, just as long as you keep the left side tyres within the white line. Now our throttle point is as this building reaches the middle of our cockpit, and we go on the throttle smoothly and allow the car to drift over to the exit curb on the left. Then as we reach the curb, we can place the left side tyres onto the red section of tarmac, making sure we keep the right side tyres within the white line, and that completes the lap. Now let's take a look at the pit entry, and as we exit the final corner, we stay to the right side of the track to enter the pit entry lane. Our braking marker is just after the white line on our left becomes straight. We go hard on the brakes about 90% and we trail off gradually to about 60% before reaching 1st gear and bringing the car to 60 kph as we reach the white line. That was a lap at LUSAIL in the Alpine A424, and now we'll put it all together and leave you with the entire lap in real time. Now if you've got any questions, feel free to leave them in the comment section below, And if you want to see more lap guides like this, be sure to subscribe to the channel or visit lmuacademy.com.